welcome to the Glasstire Top 5. It is the week of February 7th, 2019. I'm Rainey Knusdon, and here with me today is our very special guest, the artist Natasha Bowdoin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we are standing here in your incredible installation at the Moody Center at Rice University, but we'll talk about that in just a second. In the meantime, we're going to count down the top 5 art events in Texas this week. Shall we?
Yes,
okay.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Number 5 this week is the Art of Found Objects at the Art Museum of Southeast Texas in Beaumont. Craig Bunch curated this show based on his book, The Art of Found Objects, which was published by Texas A&M Press last year. Fantastic book. Little shout out to Texas A&M Press. I have to say, they have been really publishing some of the most exciting art books in Texas. I think they're the most exciting university press right now in the art book arena, so kudos to them. This exhibition draws on the artists who are in the book. These are all artists, Texas artists or recently Texas artists who use found objects in their work. Jesse Lott, Mary McCleary, Dario Robledo, Steve Bridniak, Kelly Sears, who has moved away, yes.
But has Texas connections.
And then Charles Delshow, of course, there was a wonderful, wonderful monoprint of his work that came out several years ago. All kinds of different artists, all kinds of different work. I have not seen this. It closes March 3rd, so you have a month. We have a month to go see it. But I bet it's really wonderful. And number 4 this week is Margarita Cabrera at the Dallas Contemporary. The show is titled, It is Impossible to Cover the Sun with a Finger. Margarita, of course, longtime Texas artist, originally from El Paso, and has always, for many, many, many years, been engaged with border issues and has used artisans and craftspeople, and in this case, seamstresses from Mexico and Central America in her work. So these are cacti that are sewn from Border Patrol uniforms, which are a dark green color. They are remarkable, and they have embroidery that are embroidered by these seamstresses in Mexico and Central America, that they choose their imagery.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of detail the camera can't quite capture, so it's worth an in-person close-up look.
Absolutely, and this is an all-new body of cacti, so it should be really great. At the Dallas Contemporary, this closes in May, so you have a little bit of time to see it. It just opened recently.
Number 3 on the list, Cheryl Donegan, Girls Plus Veils at the Contemporary Arts Museum here in Houston. The show is described as a survey of Donegan's paintings from 2010 to now, but I think that to say it's just a painting show is a little bit of a misnomer. It's a smash-up of painting, sculpture, installation, video, and how all those kind of hybrid practices feed back into Donegan's take on paintings. What I like about Donegan is that there's a real sense of irreverence in her show, kind of being playful and irreverent to art history and art making traditions, materials. And I think Donegan is sort of like a contemporary trickster in that there's a lot of boundary crossing in that show, from high-low, found-made, digital hands. It's just playful and smart. She also does a lot of interesting things, kind of drawing to light, in case anyone doesn't know already, that art history is dominated by men. She really pointedly references, particularly in that show, kind of male-dominated abstract expressionism, I think in a smart and interesting way. So it has, there's a vein of feminism running through that I am on board for. Also, when you're there looking, you should take a little trip downstairs and catch Nicolas Moufarrege's show, Recognize My Sign. If you haven't already, it closes on the 17th of this month, and it is also like a total gem of a show. I think it's not to be missed. I really mean it.
If you haven't seen it, this is your last chance. It's truly wonderful work you've certainly never seen before. So kudos to Dean DeDerico, the curator, for sure putting that together. And number 2 this week is in Austin. It's at the Long Center. It's presented by Fusebox Festival. This is a collective, a European collective called Berlin. The title of this is Zvizdal, Chernobyl, So Far So Close. This is a collective of mostly filmmakers, I think is what they're known for, although there are sculptural elements to their performances. And they basically create portraits of places. So they'll go for several years, in this case 5 years, to a place and shoot inhabitants of it, and they themselves, I think, sometimes appear in it. So there's a documentary / performative aspect to it. For this one, they followed a couple who were in their 60s when the Chernobyl disaster occurred, and who stayed in Chernobyl until now they're in their 80s, and they have stayed there in almost complete solitude without any amenities, no running water, no other people.
No electricity.
No electricity, radiation everywhere. Anyway, this looks like it's going to be a wonderful film screening. It's performances this weekend in Austin at the Long Center, and then next weekend they're coming to Houston to Diverse Works. So if you miss it in Austin, you can come see them here in Houston. I mean, if you're going to live totally alone without any amenities in a nuclear disaster zone,
Yes.
you need vodka.
Yes.
And number one is your installation, which we are standing in right now, Sideways to the Sun. This is so fantastic. Tell me first about the name. So where does the name come from?
Sure. So the title comes actually from a New Order song that fueled the making of this piece. I needed some
Music in the studio.
Yes, to keep me going. But it also is emblematic of just this idea of trying to reorient yourself towards nature. So I felt like it was a good kind of poetic encapsulation of what I was trying to make work about.
Well, it's a real departure because from some of your previous work, seems much more graphical. And can you tell me about your influences, what you were drawing upon, thinking about for this?
Yeah, so it's a real hodgepodge of source material that has found its way into this work, but I look at a lot of early scientific illustration from like 1800s and earlier of artists and naturalists trying to document the natural world, and that all mainly existed, some as hand drawings, but a lot of printmaking. So a lot of the line that is in my work kind of comes from that super graphic source. But then there's like early cartoons thrown in and textile design. I got really into 1970s textiles this round. A lot of cartoon influence. And then there's other things like mythology, fables, and folklore that kind of factor their way in as I'm working.
And so this obviously is a performance space here at the Moody. This is their sprung dance floor. They do performances in here.
The piece is meant to be performative, so that's actually something that's kind of new for me too. The idea when the Moody approached me, because the Moody's main mission, or one of their main missions, is to really be like a hub of interactive, interdisciplinary activity, I wanted to really pursue that element. And so these pieces, one of which we're standing in front of right now, are actually on wheels, so they can be moved around through the space. And we've been working on programming with some really exciting performers that will be coming in on March 23rd. If you're free, save the date. We have some punk puppeteers from Puerto Rico. Their name is Punchili Creation. They are identical twins, so even more interesting. And they're going to come and make wearable sculpture, and then we'll move it through the space. So there'll be some really big puppets. There'll be things that people can wear. And then
so will the audience be able to wear the puppets?
Yes.
Too? Oh, come on!
Yes, I know. They're going to do a workshop leading up to the event. So the workshop will be free and open to the public. So if you come, you can make a puppet, and then if you want to perform it on that Saturday, you can be in the performance as well. So, and they're also kind of riffs off of old opera sets like George Méliès's Voyage to the Moon.
Oh, yeah, of course. Cool.
I was looking at a lot of his work when I was thinking about this installation.
We have been big fans of your work for a very long time. Over the years, many installations we've seen. This is incredible. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Huge, cool. Can't wait for the punk puppeteers from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
So save the date for that. And in the meantime, go see some art.
Go see some art and come to the jungle.
And come to the jungle.